Website TV3network.com. Our very first story. Ghanaian exporters of goods from third-party countries outside of the ECOWAS region would no longer be able to export goods to the Ivory Coast by the end of July. The Ivorian government has warned it will no longer accept goods which are not directly manufactured from Ghana.
For over 2 weeks, 59 cargo trucks loaded with goods from the ports of Ghana were denied entry to Ivory Coast in line with the enforcement of a trade directive by the Ivorian Ministry of Finance. The Ivorian government, per the new directive, insisted that only cargo originating from ECOWAS member countries would be allowed into Ivory Coast, while goods from other parts of the world should be cleared at the seaport. The move is directed at protecting the local manufacturing industries of ECOWAS member countries. The Ghana Shippers Authority says, for now, goods from Ghana have up to July ending to be transported to Ivory Coast.
It is therefore important for the Ghana Shippers Authority to inform all who have business dealings with their counterparts in Côte d'Ivoire to be mindful of this new directive.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Dr. Kofi Mbeah, said the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would begin negotiations to resolve the impasse.
Beyond the July deadline, we would now take the matter up with our Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Transport, and then with the authorities in Abidjan to look at all of this within the framework of the free movement of goods and persons under the ECOWAS protocols, and see to what extent we can harmonize the relationships in terms of trading. Is what underlies the ECOWAS.
Been joined in the studio by Dr. Kofi Mbeah, who is the Chief Executive for the Ghana Shippers Authority. A very good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us in our studio. We'll get to that, but per a new law passed in the Ivory Coast, exporters of goods manufactured outside the ECOWAS region would not be allowed to export to the Ivory Coast beginning in August. The new law would only allow Ghanaian exporters to send goods manufactured in Ghana, with a call for regional integration and the possibility of inundating foreign goods if Ghana eventually signs the controversial Economic Partnership Agreement. Now we look at the ramifications of this new Ivorian law for the Ghanaian exporter. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, explain in simple terms what it means. In other words, if you're exporting anything outside of Ghana to Ivory Coast, it has to be a made in Ghana project.
Let me just maybe clarify that a little.
Absolutely, please go ahead. Why not?
Let me say, if you import goods from, say, Brazil, and then you bring them into Ghana, those goods are not manufactured in Ghana. They are manufactured in, say, Brazil or in Europe, for that matter. And you are sending those goods to Côte d'Ivoire. You cannot send those goods by land. That is what the directive says. If you want to send goods by land into Côte d'Ivoire, then those goods must have originated from the ECOWAS sub-region. So it's not only Ghana, it's also with respect to the ECOWAS sub-region. Okay. And the ECOWAS protocols do give conditions under which goods would qualify as having been manufactured or produced in the ECOWAS sub-region. Okay,
what are some of the qualities?
Manufacturing obviously involves changing one thing to another, production, and would not include, I think more importantly, the things that it excludes. For example, if you were to put something in brine, or if you were to color coat something, you had not really manufactured it. You just maybe changed the color, or maybe ordinary repackaging. Those things would not be considered as manufactured items, and therefore would not qualify to go by road into Côte d'Ivoire.
All right. It means that if I'm an exporter and I'm bringing goods to Ivory Coast, I must offload my goods at the Ivory Coast. Is that what it means?
The seaports, yes. The seaports of Ivory Coast. Okay. So either in Abidjan or San Pedro.
All right. What does this mean for Ghanaians who export goods that are obviously not manufactured in Ghana?
Yes, you know, the protocols do envisage situations of re-export and make conditions for re-export. But you must realize that the practical realities on the ground are such that you have a number of our traders, you know, Ghana going to Togo or sometimes going to Nigeria, you know, the spare parts dealers, for example, they buy spare parts which are not manufactured in Nigeria, as it were, you know, and then bring them into Ghana. You know, so those are the sort of things we are talking about. So if somebody has brought things into Ghana which are not manufactured in the ECOWAS sub-region, can those things be transported by road, say, into Cote d'Ivoire? And that is what the directive is against.
All right.
It's a matter of concern because of the fact that, you know, recently about almost 60 trucks were held up. I think your story did say 60 trucks were held up based on the intervention of the Ghana Shippers Authority and the Ministry of Transport. They have given a moratorium up to the end of July. But then what happens after the end of July? Today, about 30 of the trucks as at 12 noon have been able to cross the border. We are expecting that hopefully by Friday, maybe all of the trucks would have crossed the border.
Right.
But remember that this trading relation exists between the two countries.
All right. A matter of grave concern. So what has your members been telling you? What's the biggest fear?
Yes, the worry for a number of them come from the truckers and come from those who also have dealings with their partners in Cote d'Ivoire. We have held a meeting with the truckers associations, the haulage truck drivers association, who have expressed concern because for a number of their members, all they do is to carry these cargoes. What happens is that the traders buy these goods from the various markets in the sub-region, and these are consolidated by freight forwarders. The traders sometimes leave and go to their countries, and then these are then packaged appropriately, put on trucks, and then sent to them wherever they are. So they have expressed concern that indeed if that directive were implemented after July, they were still going to face a number of difficulties with respect to their trade.
Right. Before we get to what action the Shippers Council can take, for instance, what numbers are we talking with in terms of personnel who are involved in the exports, imports and exports, and also the monetary implications for them?
Yes, it's a whole livelihood. It's a whole livelihood for truck owners. It's a livelihood for the drivers themselves who carry this. It's a livelihood for the traders who are involved. I can't put a figure and an estimate on it, but when you talk of the fact that these who are involved, there are freight forwarders involved, there are the truck owners involved, there are the truck drivers involved, there are the traders themselves, the importers and exporters who are involved. And all of them, if they were to lose their livelihood along the chain, then it is quite significant. It's also important for you, like you just mentioned, for us to look at going forward.
Yeah, what action? So what's the action now? Because, I mean, obviously you were not going to sit down for your members to have their livelihood taken away from a directive like this.
Well, there is a need for greater cooperation and collaboration with our counterparts in Cote d'Ivoire. So we have already notified the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Transport, and a team will be visiting Cote d'Ivoire. So we continue with the negotiations. So remember, these negotiations were more like a knee-jerk, you know, they just came. So we had to get a dispensation to allow these trucks to go. But beyond July, it would be important for us to harmonize, you know, our trading relations within the framework of the ECOWAS protocols for free movement of goods and persons.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Kofi Mbeah is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Authority, looking at the implications of the new law, which will, well, if I should put it bluntly, ban, you know, the exportation of goods that are not made in Ghana or any other African country, ECOWAS sub-region. So if you want to take something to Ivory Coast, you must offload at their sea port.